all of you out there. This is the Friendship News Hour presented to you by Bummer Dude Media. Today is a very special December 6th, 2022. My name is Frank. His name is Alex. We have a lot to get to. I'm very excited about this show, but I would be remiss if I did not wish your young king a happy birthday. Happy birthday to Walter Kenzie. Turns 1 year old today.
Yes. 1 year, bro. I cannot believe it's been a year. Like, it's crazy to me that happened a year ago. It went so fast. It's a beautiful thing. He was happy as a clam this morning waking up, and
nice.
Going to get him hopefully some cake here in the next couple hours. And
he knows it's his day?
I don't think so, but we were extra cheery this morning, so I think that made him extra cheery.
Nice.
But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Sarah has like her birthing video, so we watched that again, which was cool to like see again. And it's just crazy, bro. Like, we were looking at some pictures of him when he was younger and stuff, and like the growth, the change that has happened from, you know, the first days, first couple like month to now. It's like he looks so different, and like, you know, all the new shit he does, obviously. And it's been a great year to watch and to be a part of and grow as a human. But it's been great. I'm loving it. So
hell yeah, you're doing the thing, man. You're doing it. You're raising a human. Yeah. It's a hell of a deal. So 1 year down, man. That's fucking awesome. Good for you guys.
17 more years and he's out of this bitch, man.
Right.
Free again.
Maybe in like 14 he can get a job.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Well, yeah, he seems happy. All the pictures that I saw of him and your family posting about his birthday today, he's all smiling. He's got that big, giant, almost like comical smile, man. It's like his whole mouth smiles when he smiles. I don't know.
He's like eats his face up when he smiles, man.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Walter.
Yeah, happy birthday, son.
Very cool. Very cool indeed. December 6th, not the 7th. Do you know what December 7th is?
Why do I know that? That's not D-Day, is it?
It's definitely not D-Day. That's June 6th.
That's June 6th. Oh yeah, okay. No. What is the
December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy.
Pearl Harbor?
Pearl Harbor Day. So I only bring it up because my grandfather was in Pearl Harbor. He was there.
Wow. Oh, I never knew that.
When it happened. Yeah, very crazy shit. And it also happens to be the day he died. Some 45 years later.
Oh, okay. Not at Pearl Harbor. Oh, okay. So is this your mom's dad?
Yes, my maternal grandfather. I never met him. One of the biggest regrets of my life, and I don't know why it's a regret. I have absolutely no control over this. He died 2 years before I was born.
Oh, okay.
And this man was in Pearl Harbor in World War II, in Korea, and I think even in Vietnam, but I don't think that might have been too late for him. He's the only reason why we're in San Diego. And I never got to meet him, never got to talk with him, never got to, and to as far as I understand, he wasn't very open about his experiences. Fuck, man. I would have loved to know.
Yeah. Just pick their brain.
Love to know. What was it like? Tell me, sir. What did it take? The balls on that man, the balls on that grandfather. I mean, just think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he did it with absolutely no concern for anything. Just his fan, and it wasn't even a fan. He hadn't even met my grandmother at the time, so it was just love of country, service, and duty.
Yeah, different time, different breed of people. You know, like you don't have as many, at least, of those people now. But it's funny you say that. Like, you'd love to have met him and talked to him. Like, my grandpa was in World War II. He was in the Navy, and he was basically like at the very bottom of the ship doing whatever he was doing. I kind of forget, but basically, if they got torpedoed, he'd be like the first, obviously, to go and fled immediately. But he was alive until I was in high school, and I just never really, I don't know. I had an appreciation for history, but not like I do now. And I wish I could talk to him now and like pick his brain about so many different things. Like his dad, and I believe it was his dad, was like a Polish spy over in Poland for years and years and years.
Wow.
And just to talk, like, man, I guess my advice would be, if you have that kind of person in your life, pick their brain, man, because that generation saw some shit, man. They've been through so much, and like, obviously with wars, World War II, Vietnam, etc., but also like with the way they've seen technology change in the last 60, 70 years. Like, God, I wish I could pick his brain, man. You know,
I love this show sometimes because there's these natural segues. I didn't plan this, but I think it's interesting that this conversation gets brought up, because even though I don't have the opportunity to talk to my grandfather, and as far as I know, there's no diary of his or any writings of his, there are countless others who have documented his history. And it's available to us all. And we can go out there and we can read it, we can learn about it, we can put pieces of history together, and we can formulate the story in our heads collectively of what happened. And we can do so the best way, in my opinion, is through personal accounts of who was there. And that leads me straight into it, Al. We'll just go right into it.
Yeah.
Leads me to Kanye West.
Oh,
Kanye West.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago on this show, I called him essential. I call him the freest man in the world, and by all accounts, he is that. He is the freest man in the world. But he's doing something that I think we've seen happen time and time again before. I'm actually watching a show right now that deals with this very same phenomenon. That is invoking religion, invoking a higher power, invoking something that means something to you, and then having that be interpreted in your reality for all of us to see. I'm watching a show called Under the Banner of Heaven, and it's about LDS, Mormons. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I'm going to throw it out to you and see if you can get this. You're a smart man. You're a man of intelligence.
Some say that.
Some, very few, but they do. How would you say that polygamy came to be in the LDS religion? Among Mormons, when polygamy was at its height, how do you think it came to be?
My guess is that John Smith was horny and he wanted to fuck more than one woman. And the best way he could do it as he was forming his religion was to incorporate those tenets into it to make it okay. That's my guess.
God, I knew I could count on you. I knew I could count. That's exactly how it went down.
Is it really?
That is exactly how it went down. Yeah, absolutely. It was revealed upon him, the prophet Joseph Smith, that he must fuck them all.
Yeah. Yep.
And so then it became a decree, right? And so he invoked that. The word of God then became reality, right? And so I think any good standing Christian knows that you can't just breathe the word Jesus and have it mean a good thing. Right. And that's what Kanye West was trying to do. He's trying to say that, Jesus loves all and I'm going to love everybody, including Nazis. I like Nazis. That's what he said. And I get it. I get what he's trying to do. But it's important that this gets pushed back upon, because it's not that there wasn't a redeeming quality amongst the general population of Nazi Germany at the time. It is that Nazism and what Hitler stood for at the time infected everybody. And everybody was complicit. And it wasn't just one person or one thing or one isolated incident. It wasn't about the amount of Jews that were killed. It was that everybody stood by and was complicit because of one reason or another. And that's why it's important. And that's why it's important not to say that, oh, well, they might have done this, but they invented the microphone that I use and make my... Okay, it's irrelevant. That good deed is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant in the course of history, right? Like it shouldn't be lost on history that some great invention was bestowed upon Nazi Germany. You know what else they invented? Mass murders by Zyklon B. They invented that as well. Okay, that was a novel concept until some German scientists decided that they wanted to make that happen. So I want to share something with you, Al. This is a clip. It's a clip from a book called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Shire. And in this particular section of the book, it begins to start talking about the atrocities, right? Up until this point, it's all been about the history of what has gone on in the Third Reich. And now we begin to start to talk about the atrocities. So here is a clip from The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich.
Adequate, for example, for the job that was done at Kiev, the capital of the Ukraine, in just 2 days, September 29th and 30th, 1941, when, according to an official Einsatz report, 33,771 persons, mostly Jews, were executed. An eyewitness report by a German of how a comparatively minor mass execution was carried out in the Ukraine brought a hush of horror over the Nuremberg courtroom when it was read by the chief British prosecutor, Sir Hartley Shawcross. It was a sworn affidavit by Hermann Grebe, the manager and engineer of a branch office in the Ukraine of a German construction firm. On October 5th, 1942, he witnessed the Einsatz commandos, supported by Ukrainian militia, in action at the execution pits at Dubno in the Ukraine. It was a matter, he reported, of liquidating the town's 5,000 Jews. My foreman and I went directly to the pits. I heard rifle shots in quick succession from behind one of the earth mounds. The people who had got off the trucks, men, women, and children of all ages, had to undress upon the order of an SS man who carried a riding or dog whip. They had to put down their clothes in fixed places, sorted according to shoes, top clothing, and underclothing. I saw a heap of shoes of about 800 to 1,000 pairs, great piles of underlinen and clothing. Without screaming or weeping, these people undressed, stood around in family groups, kissed each other, said farewells, and waited for a sign from another SS man who stood near the pit, also with a whip in his hand. During the 15 minutes that I stood near the pit, I heard no complaint or plea for mercy. An old woman with snow-white hair was holding a 1-year-old child in her arms and singing to it and tickling it. The child was cooing with delight. The parents were looking on with tears in their eyes. The father was holding the hand of a boy about 10 years old and speaking to him softly. The boy was fighting his tears. The father pointed to the sky, stroked his head, and seemed to explain something to him. At that moment, the SS man at the pit shouted something to his comrade. The latter counted off about 20 persons and instructed them to go behind the earth mound. I well remember a girl, slim and with black hair, who, as she passed close to me, pointed to herself and said, 23 years old. I walked around the mound and found myself confronted by a tremendous grave. People were closely wedged together and lying on top of each other so that only their heads were visible. Nearly all had blood running over their shoulders from their heads. Some of the people were still moving. Some were lifting their arms and turning their heads to show that they were still alive. The pit was already 2/3 full. I estimated that it contained about 1,000 people. I looked for the man who did the shooting. He was an SS man who sat at the edge of the narrow end of the pit, his feet dangling into the pit. He had a Tommy gun on his knees and was smoking a cigarette. The people, completely naked, went down some steps and clambered over the heads of the people lying there to the place to which the SS man directed them. They lay down in front of the dead or wounded people. Some caressed those who were still alive and spoke to them in a low voice. Then I heard a series of shots. I looked into the pit and saw that the bodies were twitching, the heads lying already motionless on top of the bodies that lay beneath them. Blood was running from their necks. The next batch was approaching already. They went down into the pit, lined themselves up against the previous victims, and were shot.
Jeez, man. It's crazy. Were those the exact words of what he said in Nuremberg?
That was a testimony of a manager at a construction outfit, Nazi construction outfit in Kiev, Ukraine.
The imagery, it's just insane, man. To think of what these people did.
You could pick any one of those descriptions out. I think the one thing that really got to me that was so vivid was the guy that was shooting.
Yeah.
And you could just picture a guy sitting up above a hole on the crest of it with his feet dangling and a cigarette and a Tommy gun, like it's just another day at the office.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, parents are trying to explain to their kids what's happening. And dude, I cannot even fucking imagine.
Yeah, it's gut wrenching, man. I really hate that. It sucks. It sucks that we need these reminders, you know? It sucks that there's somebody so influential that has so much, that can wield so much power that decides to, you know, misstep and who knows why you say something like that, you know, like who knows what positivity you could draw, but obviously this was never explained to him in the detail that we just listened to it. And that wasn't even the concentration camp murders. That was just running through a conquered territory and exterminating the people that you did not like.
It's disheartening, man, because I'm conflicted because I have a lot of respect for Kanye West, like the things I think he's done musically and even branching into the business world. Like I have a lot of respect for the things he's done. He's made himself a titan in that world, or he was. And now I don't know if it's a mental health thing. I don't know if he's trying to prove a point. Like I really don't know what the fuck's going on. But this guy is like blowing all of that up. He was such a loved person for so long, always controversial, but loved, you know. And he's pushing even people closest to him away right now, like Mike Dean, legendary producer, engineer. Mm-hmm. Worked with people from Scarface to Selena to Tupac to Kanye to Travis, like so many people. And this guy doesn't even want to work with Kanye anymore after all this stuff. And like there's all these businesses and all these things that he had set up and built for himself and like shown what like black excellence really is in America, coming from nothing in Chicago. You know, like this dude was like the kid of a teacher and like built him, like was such a good example for so many people, man. And he's taking his platform and he's lighting it on fire. And it's like, you can make, like before, I feel like, okay, like you were making some points about the history of black people and like maybe you didn't say it the best, but like, okay, I can kind of see what at least you're talking about. Like I disagree with you on some stuff, but you're making some points. And like, if you feel like that as a black man, like who am I to say that you shouldn't? But I mean, to go on to Alex Jones's podcast and Alex Jones is scoffing at you and nervous laughing because of the shit you're saying, and you're on there glorifying Hitler, saying you love the Nazis. You could say like, hey, I'm grateful for things like the microphone and highways to which Hitler helped create or oversaw the creating of. But it's like, that doesn't mean you need to say, I love Nazis. There's a lot of things I really like about Nazis. Oh, I really love the Hugo Boss Nazi uniforms. That man, Hitler was a fashion designer. Like, you don't need to give this man roses. He's one of the most evil human beings that's ever lived. And then for the people that are saying, oh, there's no way 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Dude, even if it was 1 million Jews, like I don't understand why people get so caught up on that or to try to make it look like Jews are lying or trying to make it look worse than it was. Like, the story remains, this man, Adolf Hitler, hated Jews. He started an entire world war in his effort to exterminate them and create an Aryan race. Like, he's an evil human being. Sure, there could be some nice things about him, but that you cannot go on a platform and glorify that guy, man. Like, that's so wrong. And to watch Kanye just keep digging this hole, I'm losing so much respect for him, dude. And this is he's an idol to me. Like, I can honestly say that. There's few people I would say that about.
Yeah,
he was an idol to me, and he's lighting his legacy on fire right now. And I don't even know what he's trying to prove. It's like I saw a post. It was, I think Mike Dean shared it, but before, when Kanye was talking about all this, it said like, Kanye built a empire for himself over the course of 20-some years and destroyed it in a week with Candace Owens' talking points. And not that Candace Owens is talking about all the shit now he's saying about Hitler, but it happened. Like, all this kind of started to happen right after he wore that White Lives Matter shirt with Candace Owens for her documentary or whatever the hell that was. And since then, we've just seen this guy spiral. And I don't know if he's really, really going through it, losing his family and this divorce and everything, if there's some mental health issues, or if at this point he's just trying to prove a point. But I'm worried for the man, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it really well there. I don't think we like to pass judgment, but I think we represent a long leash in that we despise the cancellation of people for saying something out of line or misstepping or offending somebody, right? Like there's a lot of things that are bigger than that.
And we believe in free speech. We're big proponents of that, and that's part of that leash.
And there comes a point, and this is where I think it's a really good example of when you need to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, you, sir, are able to say what you want to say, but you also need to understand your reach and your influence. And if you're saying something like this, there's going to be a lot of really soft-headed young people who look up to you, who are going to question whether or not that they should be believing everyone else is saying that these people were bad, right? And they're not going to go and look for confirmation of the things that they already thought to be true. They're going to go look for separate ideas of confirmation of what you're saying. Is it true? Have we been lied to about Nazis? They've lied to us about everything else. Why wouldn't they lie to us about Nazis? I wonder what else I can find out about this, right? They're not going to go look for the rise and fall of the Third Reich. I mean, I don't think, maybe that's just my cynical brain. They're not going to go look for source material. They're going to go uncover rocks, right? Which is a good thing to do. It's not a good thing to do when you're defending Nazis. And for reasons that we just explained here, okay? It's bigger than, even in this book, and this was written, I think this came out sometime in the late 60s, early 70s. They put the number at like 4 million, and they said, that's almost assuredly too big. Okay, great. Well, great, fine, perfect. Like, if that's what is factually true, then that's fine. But we're getting stuck on these minute details instead of focusing on what really is the problem here. And the problem, by and large, is that an entire population of people was complicit in factory style murder of another people. for reasons that really cannot be justified. And that's it. Like, full stop, boom, done. Sorry, Kanye, that's it. And yeah, man, it sucks. It really does suck because, you know, like you said, he's an idol to a lot of people. Somebody that a lot of people look up to and has done really good things and still does have the ability to be positive. Really does. I mean, if this is the end of Kanye West, then it's going to be a sad story. I don't think his story's over, but certainly a very dark time in this guy's saga. I hope he gets some spiritual guidance, man. I hope. But
dude, the spiritualness, I think, is like what's leading him astray right now. Because see, that's what he's pointing to, like with God and love everybody and all this stuff. And it's like,
yeah, it's not spiritualness.
Yeah,
that's not spiritualness. That's a justification for your shitty behavior. You're invoking Jesus Christ to ruffle feathers. And you're saying, well, Jesus loved everybody. It's the same. It's like the same thing as these people saying that Jesus Christ would be the grand marshal at a gay pride parade. Like, you can't invoke Jesus just to make your point. Like, that doesn't exist.
So when you say he needs to find spirituality, like what's the differentiating factor there that would, if like thinking of Jesus and loving everybody and of the tenets of religion, if that is kind of what he's using as his avenue to say all this shit somehow, like a backhanded religious compliment or whatever you want to call it, like, what do you mean by spirituality he needs to find? Like, how will that help him?
Yeah, so I think the beginning of a spiritual journey is recognizing that you lack humility, and that would be surrendering yourself to somebody or something that is greater than who you are, and allowing yourself to learn about whatever it is that you're surrendering yourself onto, right? He needs to go to some monks. He needs to go to Eastern Europe. He needs to go somewhere and spend time with people and put all of his ego away and say, okay, I don't know about this. Let me learn. Mm-hmm. And get out of his own way and allow people to teach him something. It doesn't need to be like, I'm not saying I can't prescribe anything to Kanye West or to Alex Kenzie or to anybody. I can only say that what's apparent here is that the ego has taken over 100% to where he is invoking Jesus Christ to justify his own shitty behavior. And that is a recipe for destruction. But if there's anything we know about Kanye West is that he listens to no one but Kanye, and he answers to nobody but Kanye. And he can invoke Jesus Christ all he wants, but this doesn't seem to be a man of prayer. I'll put it that way. If this was somebody who was about his business as a Christian man and was really doing what a Christian man does and buckling down, what is more Jesus like than humility, than humbleness? True, right? Yeah. He's sacrificing himself for the right to say that he loves Nazis? I mean, it's like, no. There's obviously something off, and I don't know who can talk to him. I don't know who can say something to him, but it will take that first step of humility, of putting down his ego and walking the other direction.
I'm just concerned with some of the things he's saying and the people he's pissing off, him, and I mean, someone else I have a great deal of respect for too, Elon Musk, with all the shit that's going on now. It scares me to think that they could easily be taken out. I'm sure they have security and all this other stuff, but like, if people want to eliminate people, they find a way to do it. We've seen 4 of the richest crypto billionaires in the world die in the last week and a half, so it's just,
yeah, I've seen
once
that.
You start pissing off the wrong people, man, like, you never know what could happen. So I would hate to see that happen to Kanye or Elon, for different reasons. I think what Elon's doing is great. Yeah. I think like the risk he's putting himself into is for a very good cause. Like, he's trying to right a huge wrong right now and shine a light on something that is egregious, honestly. Like, it's in my honest opinion an impeachable offense. So I think he's doing great, but Kanye is not. But they still both could end up the same way, Yeah,
it's a perfect example of the type of humility that you need in order to create positive change. Elon Musk buys Twitter. He strips Twitter bare. He takes all of the things that he thinks that Twitter has been doing terribly. He reveals these on Twitter and then has a conversation about it on Twitter. I mean, it's just, this to me is like the best perfect example of what it is to lead a Christ-like life, is where you put truth and the value of truth above all, and you put your faith in the fact that you can't control what other people's reactions are going to be, but you can control to the best of your ability how transparent and how honest you are with yourself and the people that you are claiming to help. And I think I agree with you. I think it's incredible. And I just love that I love that it's all in one, right? Like he's mocking Twitter. He's not mocking Twitter. He's making it bare. He's stripping it down naked.
Yeah.
He's embarrassing it. What are you when you're naked? You're embarrassed, right? He's embarrassing Twitter, the company that he bought, in a hope to make it better.
So that's my question that I was wondering with all this. 'Cause what he's releasing has got to break some kind of federal crimes, right? Like, there's no way that government...
No. Why?
It can't be legal for government to manipulate a platform in their favor. That's got to break some law, right? But my question, I guess, is like, with Elon doing all this, could he destroy Twitter completely to the point where they could get sued or go bank, like whatever that is that could get them shut down? Like, could he basically, not waste his money because he's shining a light on something that's very important, but could he end Twitter by doing this?
I mean, he might, right? So the EU is threatening to deplatform Twitter if they don't adhere to the EU's policies on misinformation and disinformation. So, I mean, it's possible that he rubs people the wrong way. I mean, it sounded like there was a little rift there with Apple, and he went and met with Tim Cook, and that seems to be gone. But in the context of the Twitter files and what was revealed over the weekend, I don't know that it has to do with... So there's no evidence that the government was saying, you need to do this. And Twitter was saying, yes, Mr. Government, we will do this on your behalf. It was much more like Twitter opening the avenues of communication to the government, working, quote, hand in hand with them to fight disinformation, misinformation, what have you. And then the people running Twitter using their own political biases and influences to manipulate or maneuver the way that they censored material, and did so with the slant and with the bias.
From what I read, though, top DNC officials were communicating with Twitter directly, saying, like, here are people we would like you to ban. This is disinformation as we see it. Can you go after these people? And Twitter was saying, like, it's taken care of, don't worry. Like, they have emails showing this.
Okay, so first of all, it wasn't exclusive to the DNC, but by all accounts, Republicans had the ability to do the same thing, right? The avenues were open.
Oh.
Yeah, so it wasn't like it was a one-way street here. It was open to everybody. But the input of what people thought might be disinformation or thought needed to be censored, right? Those requests could come in. That was the input. The output is what got censored. And I think it's apparent to everybody that what got censored was heavily in favor of a left-wing bias. Mm-hmm. The clearest example and what the Twitter files exposed was the Hunter Biden laptop story. And what's really egregious about this story is, one, they banned the story from being circulated on Twitter, completely banned it from being circulated, using justification like, quote, the lessons of 2016, right? Well, we can't repeat 2016, so we must ban this story without really looking into it. It was an immediate decision. So Kayleigh McEnany, the then White House press secretary, shares the story, and her account gets suspended until she deletes that story. And so it's like a really heavy hand, and you're using justification of misinformation, disinformation, election integrity, this, that, and the other, without any thought to whether or not this story could be true. That obviously has a bias to it, and that's what these Twitter files had shown. Also, I think the most egregious actor in this whole saga of the Twitter files is Yoel Roth. And he was like the censorship czar. He was the one that made a lot of the big decisions there. And he was meeting on a very regular cadence with the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, Director of National Intelligence, and he was meeting with all of them and basically saying, okay, this is what we think should be censored. And then he said, okay. And he went and censored it. And we know that there's a giant bias within those organizations because dozens of people from those organizations signed a letter as soon as this story came out, and they said that this Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation, and they all put their signature on it, and it turns out to be 100% true, not disinformation whatsoever. And I think just a few weeks ago, the mass media companies, your CNNs, your CBS's and NBC's had confirmed it. 2 years later, they confirm it. Just absolutely ridiculous. Yet they will run day and night for 2 years talking about Russian interference in 2016 with Donald Trump. Right? There's your bias. And this is what people are saying. Although there's no smoking gun here. This is everything that we've ever known. Okay, I guarantee you, New York Post, New York Times, Washington, or excuse me, not New York Post, they're the ones that ran the story. The New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, NBC. How many times have we ran a story saying that, yes, this is what we knew and this is what Twitter's doing?
Yeah.
How many stories are those exist out there? Yeah. Zero. Not one.
And to me, like, that has to be election interference. Like, that has to be grounds for impeachment. It doesn't connect directly to Joe Biden himself, but, like, his party was colluding with the social network, and like that's got to be something, dude. If all the shit they've been trying to go after Trump for 4 years was, grounds for impeachment and all this shit, like, maybe not January 6th. I don't know if this is quite that degree, but like everything else, to me, like, this is hard evidence that they colluded and fucked with the election. Like, Biden's numbers probably would have been smaller had this story got out to the general public.
Okay, I'll push back on that. A couple things. One, by that logic, then what Donald Trump's saying right now is 100% legitimate. And he's saying that they should completely reject the election results and install him as president, as the rightful winner of the presidency, and completely suspend the Constitution.
I don't know about that.
Or have a revote. Well, okay, but that's the same thing that you're saying, right? Like, if it's an impeachment, if there's no direct correlation, right, then you can't impeach anybody. Mm-hmm. You could say, yeah, this is really shady, and there should be a lot more transparency on this. But the collusion wasn't front and center.
But, like, if he would have got caught, like, hardcore, if the Comey report and all that stuff would have found that he very obviously colluded with Russia, he would have been impeached. This is the same thing.
He was impeached.
But, like, okay, but, like, it was so late.
He was impeached.
It was late in his term
for that.
But it was late in his term where he wouldn't be
twice.
removed.
He was impeached 2 years into his term for having a conversation with Vladimir Zelensky, everyone's favorite president now. Everyone forgets that's the person who got Donald Trump impeached because he had a conversation. He's like, "Oh, hey, you want military?" Oh, you don't remember this?
Yeah, that was Zelensky.
Basically, had a phone call with Vladimir Zelensky, and he said, "Hey, if you want military aid here, buddy, I'm going to need you to do. I'm going to need you to fire this guy, or I forget what it was. It was a tit for tat, fucking diplomacy." And everyone's like, "Oh, this is quid pro quo. That's impeachment." And they impeached him over a phone call. It didn't go anywhere. Right. So, by those standards, absolutely impeach Joe Biden. You can impeach Joe Biden for 50 different things by those standards. Mm. But okay, so what Donald Trump's saying right now, it holds no legitimacy. Also, in the lead up to the 2016 election, James Comey opened up an investigation very late into the election cycle on Hillary Clinton about her emails. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep.
And Comey said basically that he just assumed that she would win, or that Trump would lose. In other words, I wouldn't have done it had I known that Trump would win. Mm. So, yeah, I mean, like, but, you could do the same thing with that story too, right? His timing was a little suspicious. Is he some plant of Donald? You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty of these United States elections, is that they're final. They're constitutionally final, and you can contest them and you can litigate them. But once they're ratified, and we must move on, even when this stuff comes out. And the burden is now upon us, the electorate, to go and make sure that this doesn't happen again by not allowing ourselves to be asleep at the wheel and speaking up and joining the public conversation when we see a story by the New York Post, the oldest newspaper in circulation, print a story, and then have it get banned outright. A lot more people need to speak up. You mentioned these crypto guys that are getting killed. I've heard of this. Do you know any more information on that?
No, I don't know much about it, other than last week it was 3 of the biggest billionaires that have benefited from crypto. All kind of mysteriously were found dead. And then just yesterday I read about a 4th, one of the other top billionaires that has been, woke up dead. Mm. So I don't really know. I think it's probably got to do something with FTX, something in that realm. It kind of seems like they're in sync with each other with what's going on, and then all these people start dying. But I have no proof of that.
Well, yeah, we'll have to look into that because I'm curious. I've read it and I don't know to what extent all of this stuff is connected, but it seems a little fishy. I do want to talk about this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, though, because we touched on this story a little bit about FTX and Alameda, and I think by now everyone knows what's going on. I just think it's really interesting the way that he's being treated right now.
Yeah.
He's been going on the morning shows. Mm-hmm. And he's giving interviews on the morning show. And I want to break down exactly what happened here and give just a little bit more context because I think it's a really egregious thing what's going on. There's two companies, okay? FTX. FTX is an exchange. That means you put your money in, you buy securities like cryptocurrencies, just like you would do at a stock exchange, and you are responsible for the risk, okay? The only way that FTX can make money in this scenario is through fees. You trade a currency, or you trade a security, and there's a fee to do that. That's how FTX makes their money. There's another company called Alameda Research. Alameda Research is a hedge fund. That means they take money and they bet that money. They put it out there, they invest it in hopes for a return. Okay? Two completely different companies. FTX cannot lose money. You can lose money on FTX, but FTX, the company, cannot lose money because the only money they make is through fees, and that's their only revenue is fees. Okay, so they can't lose money; they can only make money. Alameda Research can lose money because they take money and they invest it, and there's a risk in that. And if those investments go bad, then you lose that money. Okay, so here's what happened: Alameda Research, FTX, they're owned by the same people. Alameda Research puts a bunch of money into some investments and they go really bad. So what do? They take the money that the people have invested into FTX, not FTX's money, but the money that people have put into FTX to trade on their own. They've taken that money and they put it into Alameda Research. Al, you have gone gambling before. I have gone gambling before. I have a sickness sometimes when I go gambling. And that is when I am down $100, $200, $300. In my mind, I think, well, I can make it back real quick. Let me just go pull some more money. And it's a terrible, terrible thing to have. That's why I try and steer clear of casinos. All right? Mm-hmm. And I know you've experienced the exact same phenomenon. Now think about this times 10 billion. And this is what FTX did. They took $10 billion of people's money that wasn't theirs and they risked it again. That money was tied up in all of these investments that Alameda Research was investing in to hedge their bets that they've already lost. And when things went south in the crypto market, FTX's customers went to go pull out their money. It's akin to your bank saying, hey, we don't have the money that you've put into the bank because we've taken that money and we've put it somewhere else, which is what your bank does. But your money is insured, at least FDIC insured up to $250,000 in a bank. When you put your money into something like FTX, it's insured by nothing. As a matter of fact, it's the most risky thing you could do. And so people did it. FTX took that money, put it into Alameda Research. It's tied up in Alameda Research, and now they owe people $10 billion. And this guy is not arrested?
Yeah. I even read rumors that this could be at the core of Tom Brady's divorce because Tom wanted to aggressively invest into crypto.
Yeah.
And they tied up like $600 million.
How egregious is that?
I don't know if that's true.
And it wasn't just, but it makes sense. Tom Brady was in a commercial. Giselle was in a commercial. Steph Curry was in the same commercial, trying to get people to use FTX as a platform. They had their naming rights on the stadium. And now he's just going around being like, oh, well, gosh, we really couldn't see this coming. And he's just playing this dumb fool and people are eating it up and nobody's mad. Yet Elon Musk gives Matt Taibbi files from Twitter and they want to drag him through the streets. I just don't understand it. Like, where is our priorities here? This guy, I'm not saying I don't want to incite violence, but if an angry mob were to take this guy and drag him through the streets, tie a rope to his ankles and tie that rope to the end of a horse carriage and run him through the streets and then hang him up in the center of the city, I wouldn't condone this.
Yeah.
But I'd understand it.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but he's hiding out in the Bahamas. Hey, Mr. Bankman-Fried, why is there a multi-million-dollar home in your parents' name? Oh, I really didn't know that was going down. You motherfucker.
Yeah, and it's crazy, man. The more you look into it, his mom was Hillary Clinton's lawyer. The CEO of Alameda, dad, was SEC's chair's old boss. FTX's new CEO, John J. Ray III, was the lawyer who cleaned up Enron basically. And then you have outlets like New York Times. They wrote a kind of like a puff piece about this whole story. Not once in the story did they mention fraud, Enron, because this guy's obviously tied to Enron, crime, illiquid, stolen, hidden, criminal, backdoor. None of those words were used a single time in the entire article. It's crazy, bro. Like, and FTX, I believe that Sam Bankman, like, they were the number 2 largest donor to the Democratic, like, to the DNC. I believe that's correct.
Yeah, there's a whole daisy chain there that we haven't even got into. That would probably take an entire episode just to uncover.
Crazy.
That. So this is how it goes. Okay, Democrat, they pass, and Republicans. The what's his name? What's that Twitter guy's name that publishes all the members of Congress's stock trades? I forget his name. The Unusual Whale, I think, on Twitter, and he publishes their stock trades. And I think some like 60-70% of all the biggest earners are Republicans. So everybody's complicit in this. They passed these giant military bills to send aid to Ukraine, military aid to Ukraine. That money goes to Ukraine. Ukraine then goes and pumps a bunch of money back into FTX. And then FTX takes a bunch of money and they donate it to the Democratic National Committee. Follow the money. I'm just saying, you connect the dots. I put the dots here. You connect the dots. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah. Just the story just grows and grows and grows. But it's like, and then just to see like the puff pieces come out, it's like what Twitter was doing is not unique to Twitter. The shit is going on everywhere on both sides. You know, like you have a news network like Fox that's doing the same shit for conservatives. But it's like, it's hard to, we talk about all the time, to try to find truth in anything now because it's just all fucking slanted, dude. It's ridiculous.
It is. It sucks, and then you get fraud like this just kind of going unchecked, and you wonder why we're all divided. Al, you're not a middle-aged woman.
Not yet, no.
No. Okay, neither am I. So we will talk about them at length. For years, middle-aged women have had some of the country's highest rates of antidepressant use. Now scientists are starting to better understand why and to develop a more targeted treatment for women's midlife depression. About 1 in 5 women, or 20% of women, ages 40 to 59, and nearly 1 in 4 women, or 25% of women, ages 60 and over, used antidepressants in the last 30 days. During 2015 to 2018, according to the latest data from the National Center of Health Statistics. Among women aged 18 to 39, so a little bit younger, the figure was about 1 in 10. And among men, just over 8% of those ages 40 to 59, and just under 13% of those 60 and older used antidepressants in the last 30 days. These figures are drawing increasing attention from scientists and doctors. Many are alarmed at the high rate of antidepressant use and the high rate of depression among midlife women even before the pandemic. In general, women have higher rates of depression than men throughout much of their lives, according to scientific research. In midlife, the risk is greatest during the years leading up to menopause and right after it. Dramatic fluctuations in hormones, hot flashes, and night sweats can wreak havoc on your mood too. Scientists are working to understand just how hormones may drive depression, but receptors for estrogen and progesterone are found throughout the brain, including in regions involving movement, cognition, mood, and regulation. So, basically, they're saying more and more women are feeling depressed. At least they're being put on antidepressants. And it seems to be as they get older, they are a little bit more depressed. And it looks like they're equating this to just the fact that you have ranging hormones as you get older. Like your hormones go up and down through your different bodily functions. And doctors are speculating that antidepressant use among middle-aged women is being driven in part by the reluctance of women and many of their physicians in recent decades to use hormone replacement therapy for menopausal symptoms, which is very interesting. That would be akin to you and I taking using TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, as we get older, because we produce less testosterone, cannot build as much muscle. There are obvious what's the opposite of a benefit? Detriment?
Like
obvious detriments to not having as much testosterone. Yeah, negatives. Thank you. As we get older. But it seems as though the solution, unsurprisingly, is a pharmaceutical medication. I'm not saying they don't work or they don't help. We've covered SSRIs on this show before and how they don't treat depression. They treat receptors of things that make you depressed. So they're just big Band-Aids. And we've thought for decades that they actually treated depression. They don't treat depression at all. They just treat the underlying causes of depression. So I just thought that was interesting that a lot of women are on SSRIs, and it seems, I don't know, I'm always of the mind that if you could do something a little more natural, I don't know if hormone replacement would be more natural, but I think so in this case, you're just replacing the hormones that you've been losing. Might help. Who knows?
I said I would just have to think like in general. I don't know like how far back this data goes, like how long that number has been what it is now. But I mean, we talked about this before, especially with females, just in general, like the age of social media and just like all of these prominent, just like celebrities these days and all this stuff where they're unattainable body images and all this other stuff. Like I could see how that would play into this early too and get people on antidepressants at a younger age, which then you kind of just stick with for the rest of your life. Because once you start fucking with brain chemistry, it's kind of not smart to keep fucking with it. Like once you kind of get something that works, you want to stick with it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this number start to shoot up in the younger demographics. Like I looked it up really quick, and I think between the ages of 18 and 39, 1 in 10 women use them. And then as you're describing it, that goes up as they get older. But I would be willing to bet in the next 10, 15 years that the number we're seeing with those younger women keep going up. And it's just like I kind of worry about what that does long term for brain chemistry if we just keep taking these drugs and numbing, you know, all of these different things.
Yeah, there's the like stereotype of like a middle-aged white woman who's either on antidepressants, drunk by 1 p.m. on white wine, or some combination of both. And you know, doesn't seem like the worst time, right? Like you could be doing a whole heck of a lot worse than that. But to me, it seems like there's like I don't know, like a lack, like something's lacking, right?
Yeah, something.
And maybe it's these hormones. You know, I'm not saying it's like existential, but it can become that. And I think it's a really good conversation to have. Why are women more and more depressed?
Right. Yeah.
That's a question I would love to have answered, because I think there's also a stereotype of like men who get depressed and then want to shield it and hide it. And I think that's a false stereotype, because I think women do that very well too. I think women can shield and hide their emotions and their feelings and internalize them just as well as men can. And I think it's a problem, because that's how things get really, really bad. That's how you begin to spiral. And that's how, you know, I don't want to take it to the most extreme, but you know, that is how people, you know, take their own lives, is they put it all aside and they don't deal with it. And if you're using an SSRI, then like you said, it's a Band-Aid, so it helps in the moment, but then when that's gone, or, you know, if something really bad happens, then, you know, you're left at your own devices. But
I would say that like most women are more outwardly emotional. They're going to a physician, a psychologist, somebody telling them, you know, hey, I feel this way. This is how I like. Women are just more open with a lot of that shit, whereas I think more men, although women do internalize and do that kind of thing as well, I think more men are inclined to do that, whereas women more open with their emotions, more willing to go to the doctor and talk and yada yada. And I think that's probably why you would see them be prescribed at a higher rate than men, because of that openness and that emotional aspect to them. Obviously there's women that aren't as emotional, and vice versa. There's men that are super emotional, but like on the whole, I kind of think that's a accurate generalization. So maybe that's why they're just more open about how they're feeling. And as you're describing it, maybe that Band-Aid is the best way to treat that in the moment for that doctor, or maybe they're getting paid by the pharmaceutical companies, and who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, it would seem that.
That's probably why. That's why I think the number's higher, is because it's talked more about, just because they're more open.
And do you think that do you think it's duplicitous for,
I don't know what that word means,
us to highlight an issue? Duplicitous?
I don't know what that means.
Like hypocritical.
Okay.
Like holding two things at the same time and playing both sides. Do you think it's hypocritical to elevate a story like this, where the obvious message is that hormone replacement therapy could be better instead of using drugs, and then to come out like we have in times past about hormone replacement therapy with younger children? Do you think there's any hypocrisy involved in that whatsoever?
Do not, no, because
I don't.
At that point, you're trying to replace something that was naturally lost as body chemistry goes, and obviously here this has a benefit. And when you talk about doing hormone replacement with young kids who don't even know what the fuck they really want in life at all, you know, last week they wanted to be a firefighter. This week they want to be a nurse. Next week they want to be a woman. Like whatever. Like, you know, and then at that point you're altering body chemistry that can have extreme long-term effects that are very, very negative we're finding in a lot of studies, you know, and maybe that wasn't even truly what the kid wanted. Maybe they just wanted to feel different in the moment or whatever. Like there's so many different things that happen in the young brain. Those are pretty polar opposite to me.
Yeah. And, you know, I know you guys don't know this, but Al's a doctor.
I'm a doctor?
And he's gone to school for this stuff. So you could take all of this to the bank. I will insulate myself and let you know that I don't know anything that I'm talking about here.
I'm not all I'm saying is I like we've seen in like what is a woman, like they're talking about people that have gone through this therapy saying how much it fucked them up long term and how they wish they never did this, and there's tons and tons of studies coming out like some of the chemicals that they give these kids is the same that they use to like castrate sex offenders and different things, and it's like whoa, we don't need to be doing that shit to kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? And and then when you look at the other side of what we're talking about, you have something that can actually like help them once these hormones and stuff are starting to decrease and it's starting to really fuck with what their body has known for so long. Okay, you know, that makes more sense. We're not chemically castrating people and fucking up, you know, a pubescent body, you know, that's just starting these changes, and now we're like going to destroy the chemistry before it can even happen. Like they have to do it the same thing, but they're so polar opposite in what they are doing, you know? No,
I agree with you. No, I was just.
But I am not a doctor. Do not take that to the bank. Do not come to me for any advice. All right, before we get out of here, NFL picks. Can't forget.
Okay. Oh yeah, let's do that.
We did pretty fucking good last week, Frank. We went 10-5.
Hey now.
Yeah.
Hey now.
Yeah, right. Fucking Broncos.
What's our record?
I think our record overall through like 3 weeks is like 20. I think we're like 21 and like 17. I think that sounds right. So, somewhere in there. Yeah. So we pick more than we lose, but I wouldn't say that we're necessarily super good at this. But we went 10-5 this week, so that's good.
Really good. That's really good. Yeah, man. I mean, who would have guessed that Lamar Jackson leaves in the first quarter? But
yeah, that's tough. And Russell Wilson still doesn't score a touchdown.
It's tough. Unreal. Okay, let's go through these right quick. In 2 days, if my webpage loads, we have the Raiders at the Rams, and the Raiders just had their way with the Chargers last week. I mean, they just destroyed them. The Rams, I still don't think they're going to have Matt Stafford, and
he's done for the year.
Raiders are cut. What's that?
They put Stafford on IR, so he's done for the next.
Oh, he's on IR, so he's gone for the season. Okay. So Vegas is coming in as 6-point favorites, and I am inclined to take the 6. So Raiders -6.
Yep.
In Los Angeles.
I'm with you.
I'm taking it. Jets at the Bills.
Ooh.
Jets at the Bills, and the Bills are getting 9.5. Or the Jets are getting 9.5 points. Listen, man, this is like every week with the Bills. The Bills are not 9.5 points better than the Jets. Give me those points all day. Jets plus 9.5.
With you.
Browns at the Bengals. Cincinnati is favored by 6 points, and I would probably take them at 9.5, to be honest with you. I think Cincinnati is going to wipe the floor with the Browns. The Browns won last week, but they scored 3 defensive touchdowns against the Texans. They're not a good offense. Deshaun Watson got booed.
He looks rusty. He looks real rusty.
Oh, yeah, as you might.
He played,
and the Bengals, right. And the Bengals are looking really, really good right now. They're kind of humming. So I'll spot you those 6, and I'll take Cincinnati in that one.
Yep.
Hey, here's a fun one. Texans at Dallas.
Oh, Jesus.
And the Texans are getting spotted 17 points in an NFL football game.
Wow.
That is wild. I'm just going to go with principle
Cowboys,
here, and I'm going to take the Texans.
Are you? I don't know, man.
You thinking the Cowboys? Dude, 17 points? Are you kidding me?
This week, though?
That's fine. It's a professional football game, and nobody on any given Sunday is 17 points better than another professional football team. It just doesn't happen. They're not going to win, but it's an in-state rival. Yeah, the Cowboys are playing good football, but they're the Cowboys. And
but hold on.
So give me.
But so I don't remember what the spread was last week, but they were playing the Colts, which I would say is a superior team to the Texans. Nah, it's close.
Yeah,
but the Cowboys won 54-19.
Yeah, we took the Colts.
No, we took Cowboys.
Oh, Did we take
the Cowboys?
I forget what
it was a big spread. I think the spread was like 11 or 13. To me,
17.
I'm riding this. I know it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But
if you want to take this, I'll go with you. I'll make it the official pick.
Can we? Can we please?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
let's do it.
Trust me.
All right,
I got you.
Dallas is starting this game with a 17 point disadvantage. Vikings at the Lions. Hey, get this. The Lions, 2.5 point favorites at home against the Vikings, the 10-2 Vikings. Lions are playing really good football. Winners are 4 straight. They need to run the table to even sniff the playoffs, and I don't think they make it past the Vikings in this game. I'm taking the Vikings and the points.
You're smart. You're definitely smart. But yeah, we are. I think we're 2 games back of the wild card right now. Somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
somehow, some way.
Leave it to Detroit to destroy their draft pick choices by winning, at the end of a season when it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Just enough to lose your draft picks and just not enough to not make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful purgatory there.
We have from the Stafford trade, we have their first round pick next year, and with how shitty the Rams are, that's going to be like a top 3-4 pick. So good trade.
Well, good for them.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
And moving on, Jaguars at the Titans. AFC South rivalry game. Titans are 3.5 point favorites at home. And they're not like really inspiring at the moment. Their quarterback play sucks. So I don't know, 3.5 points.
I'd probably give it. I don't know. The Lions just destroyed the Jaguars though, and the Lions are good, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, at home. I don't know. This seems like a trap. My gut tells me to take the Jags, but I think I'm going to go Titans here.
Yeah, I could see Derrick Henry having like a 200-some yard game, 2 touchdowns kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Titans.
Yeah, they're 1-5 away. So I'll take the Titans and I'll spot you 3.5. Eagles at the Giants. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Eagles are favored by 7 points in East Rutherford. That's a tough one because I think the Giants are pretty formidable, and it's a divisional game. If this wasn't a divisional game, I would say the 7 points all day. But the Giants are playing pretty solid ball. The Eagles are 11-1, and they're just beating the piss out of everybody. They really just mollywop the Titans. You know what? Give me the Eagles. Why not?
Okay.
Let's run with a hot hand. Eagles, and I'll spot you 7. Ravens at the Steelers. Lamar Jackson will not be playing. Pittsburgh is only favored by 2.5. I'm taking the Steelers all day in that one. Mm-hmm. Chiefs at the Broncos. Oh, boy.
How much are the Chiefs favored by?
9 points in Denver. Divisional game. The Broncos do not give up a lot of points. They just don't. So 9 points seems like too many.
This is why I'm going to try to sway you back to the Chiefs. Yes, they don't give up that many points, but the Chiefs have a good enough offense that they'll be close, even if Denver has that bend but don't break kind of mentality. But the Chiefs have one of the best kickers in the league in Harrison Butker, kicking at elevation, which means his balls will travel farther. I could see him having 3-4 field goals in this game. Maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. I don't see Russell scoring more than 1 touchdown. So I see a way that the Chiefs are able to bridge that gap.
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs in this one. And even if they keep it close, even if it's like close with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs are only up by 4, I can see a scenario where like a pick 6 or the Chiefs just put them away and they win by 10. And the score doesn't reflect how close the game was, but yeah, I'll take the Chiefs. The Buccaneers at the Niners. Niners are 3.5 point favorites. The Bucs just barely they screwed me over in a pick'em pool, man. I picked the Saints in this one in a pick'em pool. If the Saints win, I come up with like $150. And Tom Brady just does what Tom Brady does. Tom Brady does not do that against the Niners. He just doesn't. I think they're going to get creamed. So I'll take the Niners and I'll spot you 3.5.
Who's going to be the Niners quarterback now? I heard there's rumors of Baker Mayfield going there since he got released, but now that Jimmy G's foot's broken.
Oh, Brock Purdy.
Is he good? I don't know much about Brock.
Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, he won the game last week. No, they lost. Did they lose?
The 49ers, they covered. They beat the Dolphins 33-17, yeah. But I don't know when Jimmy got hurt or anything. I didn't watch the game.
Like second quarter.
Okay.
It was early on. So yeah, I really don't like the Bucs to cover 3.5 against anybody, especially the Niners.
So we're taking Niners.
Taking the Niners, despite the points. Panthers at the Hawks. Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites. And I'm going to take the Seahawks all day. The Panthers are winless away from Carolina. And the Seahawks, they got something good going, man. I really like the way they're playing football. Their defense is solid, so that 3.5 seems a little low, to be honest. So Seahawks, I'll spot you the points. And then the Dolphins at the Chargers on Sunday night. Dolphins really, it looked like they were going to blow away the Niners. The first play of the game was like a 80-yard touchdown. So I don't know what to make of this one, man. Chargers are close every game. 3 points is a small margin. Chargers could easily win it. I don't know. What do you think? I have no idea.
Not Chargers. Every time we've bet for the Chargers, they've lost. We won against them last week, and we won. Very good.
So Dolphins it is. Dolphins to cover 3 points. And then Monday night, Patriots at the Cardinals. And New England is 1-point favorites on the road. And, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
The Pats. Is Mac Jones playing? Do you know?
I think he is. I'm pretty sure he is. Is Kyler playing?
I think he is too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm almost positive he's playing. So yeah, but Cardinals are in free fall, and they're a 1-win team at home.
Yeah, and it looks like Kyler's going to leave there, man.
Not awful.
There's a potential that we're going to see Kyler and Lamar Jackson on the open market next year or this offseason. That's exciting.
Incredible drama. All right, those are our picks.
Oh yeah. If you get a second,
win some money.
Go. Yeah.
Hey, bet us. Honestly, bet us. We're doing okay.
Yeah, not doing bad. If you guys get a sec, check out the links in our bio to hit the shop and pick up merch. We'd greatly appreciate it. We got shirts, hats, sweaters, beanies, all kinds of things, underwear. Rep us, help us rep the name, get the name out there to other people. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that kind of stuff. It helps us grow this. Keep seeing those download accounts go up, and we keep growing, keep able, maybe able to do this even more and more, and get the friendship out to more people. So really appreciate it. Do that. Where can they find all that awesome information and those links in the bios, Frank?
You can hit us up on Twitter at FriendshipNH. You can hit us up on Instagram and TikTok at Friendship News Hour. Same handle. You can send us an email. bummerdude.media@gmail.com. bummerdude.media@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.